we are grading another one of your Dynasty football teams.
That is right.
If you want your team to be considered, join our Discord with the link in the description. And then in our Discord, there is a Dynasty Team Grades text channel.
That's right.
Where you can submit your team. Make sure you put it in screenshots like we have it, similar to how we have it here. Now, just being honest, we can't do everyone's. So we will try and look at it. But what we try and look for is teams that we feel like we can really help. If you put a team in that channel that's just absolute all-stars, I mean, what are we gonna say? We're gonna put it on the screen here and say, well, this is a damn good team.
Yeah, clearly.
Go win a championship. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we typically try and find teams that we can help. And today we have a very interesting team.
Mm-hmm.
This is from a 16-team league, okay? 16-team Superflex league. Took over this orphan about 2 months ago. This is the context. And immediately started rebuilding. I'd love to have this team broken down. I have provided a list of trades I have made ever since taking over. And wouldn't you know it, he actually does have an entire graphic of all the trades that he has made.
The whole thing.
So we're going to go ahead and put that on the screen here for you. By the way, shout out to Gavin Grant. Gavin Grant, this is his team.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see this little document that he's put together. This was trades that he did before. Derek Carr, he got the 112 and the 201.
Yep.
I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but you guys can kind of see these trades on the screen. One that I really liked in particular was the rookie draft one where you got Jameson and Dotson. I don't know if you like that, Badake, but those are two players I really love. We'll talk about this in a second.
We can talk about it.
But I also really like the Pickens, McKissick, and a third for Palmer, a first and a second trade post-draft. Was there anyone that, I know we were talking about this beforehand, you were like, I didn't like all these trades. So, obviously we're going to try and help him, but was there any trade or any advice that you could give on a trade that you did not like in particular?
The one thing I thought about with the trades, especially when I was looking at your team, and I know it was a 16-man league, and it looks like it's a super flex league, as you can see on the screen. I'm always trying to solidify that quarterback, right? Okay. And one thing that I noticed here is that you traded away Derek Carr and Kenny Pickett at two separate times to essentially only get one quarterback back. And I think those were the bad trades in my mind. Derek Carr, sure, for the 2022 first and the 201. I think you couldn't have gotten more for that, especially I guess if you knew the thought process of this 2022 class, I don't think I would have traded any like Derek Carr for a 2022 first round pick. And for Pickett, I think it's a good trade and you get J-Mo and Dotson, but I think I would still hold on to Pickett if I didn't have a solidified QB2. That's the problem here for me. Because if you look at the team, you got Jacoby, Baker Mayfield, which is fine. You get Baker maybe for a year, hoping he's going to
let's bring up the team now then.
Mm-hmm.
On the screen, go ahead, keep going.
No, yeah, and you can see like Mac Jones, Jacoby, Baker Mayfield, Kyle Allen. I'm not necessarily excited for any of these guys. You do have 223 first, and maybe the thought process is to build for the future, and that's fine. I think that's tough, especially in a 16-man league. What if those first are in 112, 113, 114? That's pretty hard to move forward from. If you can't even get any of the top 5 quarterbacks, at least in the 2023 first.
Yeah.
So in the quarterback room specifically, in the trade specifically, I wasn't a fan of you trading away Derek Carr and Kenny Pickett. I get the Pickett trade, but I wish you held Derek Carr, and then maybe you'd get Kenny Pickett. Like if you held Derek Carr there, you could have easily got J-Mo and Dotson. That's it. You would have Mac Jones, Derek Carr. I don't care who your third quarterback is.
Well, I don't know if he would have been able to get Jameson and Dotson, would he? Hard to say if he would have been able to do that.
Mm-hmm. It is hard to say. But I mean, Derek Carr, 112. I guess he didn't really trade. Well, he wouldn't have gotten Mac Jones in that scenario then. So that's where it's hard.
It is hard. When I look at that deal, I'm like, Jameson and Dotson, I just love those guys so much. And as much as I love Pickens, I'm like, is this a class where I want to bet on a quarterback? Great situation.
For sure. And I think that's the problem. Like
it's a great situation he's in. But let's talk about the team as a whole. And, just for clarification, this team, for me, you've already started the rebuild. So all the ideas I'm going to bring are ones that are going to put you in the best position for the 2023 draft. Keep in mind, this 16-team league. So when you look at this team, it looks bad. It's not as bad.
It's not bad. It's not. I don't think it's bad.
It's not as bad, when you consider it's a 16-man league.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's team's going to look a little bit worse. But at the quarterback position, Mac Jones is really the only hope here. But I do have some ideas, and specifically that would be, number one, drop Kyle Allen.
Yeah.
Even in a 16-team league, Kyle Allen is just wasting a roster spot in your team. I have 0% hope in him becoming a fantasy relevant player at any point.
Mm-hmm.
Second one is with Baker Mayfield. I think he's a hold for now, but I think at some point you might be able to trade him. We keep hearing that he could start for Carolina, for Seattle. And if one of those two things happen, I still don't think he's a future quarterback for those franchises. He's a stopgap. But according to Player Profiler, you can already get this value back. Keep trade cut. You can already get guys like Carson Wentz, Mitch Trubisky, Jimmy G. Jimmy G is questionable, but I would take Carson Wentz and Mitch Trubisky already over Baker Mayfield. I like their situation.
And I think
better.
that was a thought process here because I think he was okay to trade Derek and Pickett because he knew he had Baker Mayfield on the bench, hoping maybe he's a Baker Mayfield believer. Maybe he's believing that he's going to come back and sign with the Browns or play for the Browns or, like you said, any other team. I think there was just more security with everyone else, in my opinion. But yeah, I hear it, and I can kind of see where he was going in that scenario. So I hear you.
Are you on board, to potentially move Baker for a different quarterback? I mean, I don't think you're getting a second-round pick for him if he becomes a starter, but that would be ideal, to get a second-round pick from him. But if it's a third, you might as well just hold on to him or try and make a pivot move.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm happy for him to trade for any other quarterbacks you name. I say Carson Wentz, I heard. I feel like
I'm surprised his value's that high. And look, when we reference crowdsourcing, we're just referencing crowdsourcing. We're not telling you
that's
it's
just
a
community.
fact. You can get these deals done. That is a community. It's the widest range of community rankings. All right, let's look at the running backs. Thoughts?
It's very interesting. I think this is probably the toughest room in my opinion. Saquon, Spiller are the only guys that you can really move forward here with. I see Rashad White as well. I think it's okay. Why? Because you're in a 16-man league. Isaiah Spiller in a league like this big, and the way I'm viewing Isaiah Spiller could bring some sort of value. I'm already projecting and seeing Isaiah Spiller taking opportunities away from Austin Eckler in the goal line specifically. So maybe he's a guy that can get you maybe 6 to 8 points per game, depending on if they're going to continue to use him. Once again, these are just high expectations for Isaiah Spiller. And we're going to understand more about what he's going to look like when he gets closer to the season. But that's the only thing I can see here for the running back room. I have a couple ideas on what he can do, but I don't know if you have any other thoughts. But it is probably the weakest room in my opinion.
Yeah. I think Saquon's like the obvious value here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I want to build this team around Saquon, though.
Right.
I'm not saying Saquon's too old to be in a futuristic build. I'm not saying he should be a must trade. I'm saying with my strategy, with this team that I have, I'm very open to moving him. And I love the running back class that's coming in. I think this year, I had 2 players in my top 24 of Dynasty rankings that were rookies, running backs. Mm-hmm. Next year, I think that could be like 5 or 6. It could be much higher. It's a really good running back class.
Yeah.
So I'm really open to moving Saquon. And by the way, selling him not only gives you more draft capital in the class that you want, but it also gives your team a clearer direction in my mind. Saquon, if healthy, he is going to help you win more games, and that's not really what you want to do this year. It's going to put you in a better position to sell him, and it's not going to be bad for you this year if you have, Rashad White starting instead of Saquon, because Rashad White's going to give you a worse team this year, and that's okay because we don't want to win this year. I'll be honest. people might say in the comments, you could win this year with this team. People always say things like that, but you can't. Not
In a
with this team.
16-man league, I think it's pretty tough. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible.
So just on that, here are some ideas that I had for Saquon. And you might disagree. I know you love Saquon, but if I can get a 23 first, a mid 23 first, I'm open to doing that.
Yep.
Now, when I throw out ideas, I'm not telling you that these will in fact happen. No doubt. You send these trades, they will happen. I'm giving you ideas to explore. So I'll go from outside the 23 first, I'll go from the most likely to the least likely to happen. How about a late 23 first in Zamir White? A late 23 first in Brian Robinson? A late 23 first in Damian Pierce? You don't know what a player who's in a competing spot in a 16-team league will do for someone with Saquon's upside. So those are some of the ideas that I had for the running back room. With Isaiah Spiller and White, I mean, there's not really value to trade them right now, so they're worth holding and they're young pieces.
No, for sure. One thing I did think of, because I do see this team really transitioning to a futuristic team. When I go for these younger guys, why not take a shot at a Kenneth Walker or a Ken Walker now, excuse me, or James Cook? I'm a believer in James Cook. I think you can get maybe a first and James in return, or maybe you can do some sort of package here with your team. Those are the guys that I'm thinking of. If you really wanted to build from the 2022 rookie class, but I agree with you in the 23 class, especially when you have 3 second-round picks. We've been saying it a lot. I've been saying it a lot. I think Zach can agree. Those second-round picks are going to feel like first-round picks, especially in the 16-man league. Actually, maybe not in the 16-man league. That might dwindle down a little bit because all those guys would be going. But I think these running backs could fall into the second round. Some good talented running backs could fall into the second round, depending on where those second round are for you in your draft. But that's what those are my ideas. I don't know.
If you could send Saquon for Ken Walker, I would do that right now. I don't think Ken Walker is going to be a higher scoring player right now, but I think that fits your strategy, and I would rather build around Ken just purely like contract wise.
Yeah.
So all right, let's look at the wide receivers, unless you had any other running back ideas.
No, I think that's good. I like Rashad White though. Keep Rashad.
Yeah, same.
I think that's good.
He's not worth selling right now, his value. Okay, so with the wide receivers, it's a pretty good room. I'm going to say Jahan Dotson, Jamison Williams, those guys specifically, and even Hollywood Brown. All three of those guys are players that I personally feel like I want to hold. I don't want to move them. You know what I think about Hollywood Brown? I think his value is going to be, it's pretty high right now, but I think it's going to be even higher. I see a breakout year for him. So really, I keep saying moves I'm going to suggest are going to point you towards the 23 class, and that's going to involve Chris Godwin here in a second.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts first, though.
No, the two people, I agree, Jahan, J-Mo, and Hollywood Brown are the people I do want to keep. If I am moving anyone, it is going to be Chris Godwin or Michael Gallup and Michael Gallup. You can easily get a first for Chris Godwin, and Michael Gallup, you can get a second, or you can make a lateral move. But I don't think there's a point of really trading Michael Gallup because of his age, his contract. But it is a thought process if you wanted to move him. But I think for the best value right now is Chris Godwin in the first, or you can go for younger pieces. Maybe you can go for Rashad Bateman. Maybe you can go, I don't know, for an Elijah Moore. You can kind of lateral move or get that 2023 first round pick with Chris Godwin.
Agreed. Yeah. I wrote down Chris Godwin and Michael Gallup. These are both players I'm open to moving, but I put an emphasis on Godwin. I said Gallup, with his contract, I don't feel like you have to move him.
Agreed. Connected
to a good offense. The hard thing is both of these guys, their values are not at a sky high right now with their injury. That's what makes this really difficult. So, Godwin's one of those guys where you don't have to sell him right now, because think about it. He won't be there for like the first 5-6 weeks of the season anyway.
Yeah.
So he's not going to hurt you as far as helping you win games with this strategy. And then you can sell him when he comes back and he's like a top 12 guy most weeks. But I would agree. There's some trades that I'm going to suggest. And again, just because I always get hosed in the comments, and like, people are like, you couldn't make these trades. It's like, I'm giving ideas. Okay. Giving ideas here.
Right.
23 first. I think that's very realistic. You can get for Godwin.
No doubt.
Do you think you could flip Godwin for Rashad Bateman in like a third or a second?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe like that's something I would try. How about Treylon Burks in a third or a second?
Yeah.
Like, I think Burks is there's a really good chance right now, but Badake won't agree with this one, but I think there's a really good chance right now to go out and take advantage of the Burks lulls in the community.
Yeah, I hear you.
So that's something that I would be open to looking at.
I think you can go for if you really wanted to. I mean, you can try to go for Devonta Smith right now. People are not high on him with AJ Brown coming in, a Darnell Mooney, a young talented guy coming in with Justin Fields. There's a lot of people you can really target here. Maybe I was gonna say Mike.
Sure, I would say with those two specifically, I don't have those in the same tier as Rashad and Treylon.
Right.
So like sense. for me, I'm not targeting those guys. You guys know that, but that doesn't mean, so if you were to, let's say Darnell Mooney, what would you need to actually, because you can't just trade them straight up. That's,
no,
that's a bad trade.
I'm not saying that. Like I'm saying,
I know. I'm trying to
do
give
that in
you
the package.
To...
Yeah, good. Thanks. I'm thinking of like Mooney in I would try Mooney in a first. It may feel like a lot, but if a team out there is a win now and they say Chris Godwin is my X factor, I don't see why not, especially if Justin Fields is struggling or Mooney is struggling and you're trying to build for the future. And I think Mooney is going to continue and he will get better throughout the season. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of. Same thing with, like you said, Elijah Moore, Devonta Smith. I really believe in those guys, especially young pieces, once again, tearing down away from Chris Godwin.
Sure. When I say give you a chance, I'm saying like give you a chance because people are going to comment something. They're going to be like, that's such a dumb idea. So I'm trying to
I get what you're saying.
Give that clarification. Two other ideas. I said it's very unlikely that this works, but it's worth a shot. John Mechie in the 23 first. Alec Pierce in the 23 first.
Okay.
Both guys that I think
for Godwin
are undervalued right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So, you make some of these moves, all of a sudden, now maybe you have 4 23 firsts, and your team's in a better position for the 23 class.
Mm-hmm.
Now the tight end spot is rough.
Look, I actually have hope in the tight end spot, and the only reason why I say that is because who I see on your bench with Daniel Bellinger, and maybe this is a biased thought process because I believe what's going to happen. I believe good things are going to happen with Daniel, and he's going to come in, and I love what they're doing there. And they didn't invest in anyone. They do have Ricky Seals, but I don't believe he's a long-term answer. I think this is a hold and wait. It is a tough spot for sure right now. Tyler Higbee, Daniel's not a guy that's not going to build for your team right now or like win you games, but this is why you're building for the future. I would say keep Daniel and keep an eye out on what those Giants are doing with him because it's kind of like what we saw with Dawson Knox. That's how I'm picturing his upbringing in the NFL in a way, with Brian Dable and Joe Shane and what they're doing there. So keep him. But yeah, it is a tough spot. Tyler Higbee, not the best there, I think, especially with Allen Robinson. He kind of just fades away.
It's tough, man. Yeah, it's a tough room. And, honestly, you would hope to have some more later round picks.
Mm-hmm.
We only have, we've done well to get 2 firsts and 23. We have 3 seconds, but we've only got 5 picks.
You know what you can do now with the news? Cameron Brate, Cade Auden are probably out there. They were in multiple waiver wires in our leagues. See if you can pick them up. That's one of those guys that are starting tight end. Who is it going to be? I'm pretty sure. I think it's going to be Cameron Brate. He's an older veteran guy that already has some sort of chemistry with Tom Brady. He should be out there. He should be out there. Try that.
Yeah. A lot of ideas out there for you. You're not going to send all these ideas and have them accepted. And with trades, you guys need to be very consistent in counters and ideas and throwing out, offers to players because most trades that I do, I don't just send a trade and it gets accepted. You got
to go back and forth.
I think that's a common misconception. It takes work to get a deal done.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you can get some sort of deal done or establish a foundation for a deal with some of these players and put yourself in a better position for 2023. So I gave this team a C+. I was a little bit more harsh. I don't know. I think you started the rebuild but it's not easy. It doesn't look like an easy
Right.
rebuild. I guess the quarterback position is kind of the one thing I look at and I'm like, oof, that is hard. I mean, I'm not even sure when Mac Jones will be top 12.
No, for sure.
So,
For sure.
you just got to keep rebuilding. You know, if I feel like if you keep the team the same as it is right now, you're just going to be another average team. Like you got to complete this rebuild process. You can't stop here, in my opinion.
I hear you. I actually gave it a C+ as well, purely based off
Okay.
of the previous trades. Once again, Derek Carr, Kenny Pickett, I would have loved to have held on to those guys. Your team would look completely different, but at the same time, you wouldn't have half the guys you have, a J-Mo, a Dotson. You know, it's tough. It's tough because would you rather have Derek Carr and Pickett over J-Mo and Dotson? I would say, right?
Derek Carr and Pickett over J-Mo and Dotson, probably.
Or would you have
It's the
or would
hard
you have
thing
Mac
is
Jones
just
and
what-
Pickett?
Mac Jones and Pickett. Maybe.
It's tough. Sorry
It's
to put
so
you on,
hard
sorry
to,
to put you on the spot.
predict. Like the two players here that it's specific. Like I think Jahan's going to be good,
Right.
and Jameson's my favorite wide receiver in the class. You look at Jameson and Pickett's career trajectory; those are some of the most sporadic things I could think of. Like, what could Pickett be?
Right.
It could be a backup,
Mhm.
but he could be a Kirk Cousins in the league. Jameson Williams could be a top 10 wide receiver at some point.
Yeah.
But he could be, Henry Ruggs. So there's it's really difficult for me to say.
It is tough,
I get the
man.
conversation though.
It is tough. I think I would try and have kept Derek Carr and just been okay with Kenny, the youth, and hope that he pops off. But obviously that wasn't the case here. Still very good pieces to build off of. Another thing is I want to say before we close, I think he was trading for depth. I think this team didn't have depth before. Yeah. You know, I mean, look at the trades he done. Terry for Mac Jones, Gallup, and Jerome Ford. Curtis Samuel for Rachaad White and 2 draft picks. Or sorry, Rachaad White and a third. You know, like he was trading for depth there, I think, in my opinion. Same thing with Galladay and Goddard, Hamler, KJ, Harrison. I guess this team was really bare before what we've seen before. So he's done good. He's done all right.
Yeah. Comment down below. Tell us what your thoughts are.
Yo, what's good?
What
Thanks
up?
for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
Now,
it.
You can also subscribe
Right now.
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.